So thanks, everyone, for sticking around and for coming today and learning with us. It's been great to have everyone here joining us. You've been hearing from a lot of folks from Facebook today. So we wanted to bring together some folks that have done an awesome job building on top of our platform, using a variety of the tools that we offer on the Facebook platform. So wanted to give you the opportunity to hear about their experiences and what they've done with the platform, their pointers, their best practices that they could share. But I will bring them out to share those experiences. So I will bring the panel out right now and introduce each of them. We have who's coming out first? Devin Flaherty from Fab. We have Kyle Teague from GetGlue. We have Phil Newman from Nike, and we have Nghia from Poshmark. So please welcome our awesome panel here, guys. And since you all can do a much better job introducing yourselves and your companies than I would ever be able to, I'll give you guys each an opportunity to introduce yourself, talk about what you do at your company, and just talk about your app in general. So we'll start with Nghia.
Start with me? OK. So Poshmark is a mobile market fashion. And we're a mobile marketplace focused purely on fashion. And what we do is we connect millions of women's closets across America through an iOS iPhone app, and that's what we do. One of the things that is unique about Poshmark, a couple of different things unique about it. One is that we have Posh parties throughout the day that are themed. So there might be a Posh party on LV or Michael Kors or spring dresses, and everybody will come in and list items through their phone into the party itself. So that's Poshmark. What I do there is I work with a team that focuses on user growth. So that's both paid and organic user growth.
Cool. I think we've already heard about Nike a little bit today, and I think you all know Nike. So at Nike, I manage social platform development. So that is across all of our activity apps, as well as commerce and specific experience apps related to an event. So we've got probably right now, I would say, about 24 different mobile apps that are all integrated with different things in different ways.
So GetGlue is a social TV app. We're really focused on being your personal guide to TV, movies, and sports. Provide a platform for talking about your favorite shows and movies, as well as a guide where you can get recommendations. So I'm the VP of Engineering, handle all of our mobile apps, as well as our backend and analytics.
Fab.com is an e-commerce website and mobile application. We sell anything and everything great, fun, modern, colorful design. Every day we try to put things in front of people that they're going to really love and get excited about, and hopefully become part of their lives. Mobile is a huge part of our business and continues to be a larger part, and Facebook's been a great partner in getting us there, so happy to be here.
Thanks, guys. So we just heard, if you were down here on the third floor, we've heard a bit from Adam and Michael about how we build mobile apps at Facebook. And I'm sure the audience would also love to hear about how you guys go about building mobile apps. And you guys all have a mobile and a desktop component of your service. So would love to hear about how you guys go about building mobile products and building things cross-platform, and how each of you guys think about that.
OK. So
And whoever wants to hop on it first. Phil.
Me? OK.
Go ahead.
I get to go first. So Poshmark actually started as an iOS app. We were mobile only. And so what we did was we kind of decided that, OK, we're going to have multiple clients that are going to be talking to the server component. And so we kind of split the team up into focusing into two separate areas initially. What that's been able to do for us is that we have kind of the test cases and all the functionality that's on the server side that we try to make backward compatible, but it allows us to deploy it at a faster rate. And then we have the iOS part of the app, which allows us to, there's two components there. One is the pure iOS development, and there's also an HTML component. So features where we think that it would change rapidly, where we don't quite understand it, we would build on HTML first. But where we need performance and kind of where we want the user experience to be great, we move it over to a native app. So what that's been able to do for us is, once we kind of got to that point, we also were able to build the web app. And the web app now is just more of a client that talks to our server and any other clients that we would be working on.
So what we do is activity is, of course, a very mobile thing. You're not very mobile when you're sitting in front of your computer. So we've got a strong mobile focus, and we have dedicated teams focused to each of our mobile experiences while we try to then bring back the best of each into an overall server-side platform that we can then share across different experiences. Probably the two biggest mobile experiences right now are, of course, our running app, which you show your maps and it uses a lot of the geolocation features, and certainly our fuel band applications.
So mobile is huge for us. It just makes sense. If you're sitting in front of your TV, you're going to have your phone on you. So I would say most of our effort and time is thinking about mobile and how to optimize that experience. We have a hybrid app, so a lot of the same code that we're running for the website is actually running on our iOS app and our Android app as well.
I mean, for Fab, we launched our mobile apps about 3 months after we launched Fab itself. And within about 3 weeks, it was 10% of our revenue share. And now it sits at somewhere in between 30 and 40, depending on the day. And I think a lot of folks out there are still trying to figure out where e-commerce is heading from a mobile perspective. But for us, it just, we've always tried to lead with it because it increasingly just seems to be the platform that folks want to be on. And it's also, as we launch new product and try to, set up a more an exciting schedule around when new product is launching, a lot of those, more often than not, the most applicable device that you're going to go and receive that notification on is mobile, more so than your computer. And yeah, so for us, it's just it's a natural fit, and it's just become an increasingly larger part of our business.
That's impressive how quickly it took over that much share.
Yeah, we were not expecting it, and then once that happened, we kind of doubled down the investment on it, and yeah, going ever since.
That's great. And so, I mean, as you guys have built each of your respective mobile apps, you guys all use the Facebook mobile SDKs as part of your offerings. I'm sure the audience, I mean, they've heard from us on how great the Facebook SDK is and what works. But I'm sure people would love to hear about your guys' experience with it. What made you guys decide to integrate it, and what was that experience like? And talk about any challenges that you guys have had and ways that you guys have resolved those. Because as more folks are integrating the SDK, they'll probably run into these as well. So I'd love to hear for your guys' experience. And how about Phil?
Okay.
Switch it up.
Sure. So I think one of the things that we always talk about at Nike is simplify and go, and that's what SDK has done for us. We were able to take an idea and quickly bring it to market and see how it plays out, and then take the best of that and, again, expand it along. Some of the challenges you asked about, I mean, I think, before I go on to challenges, I'd like to also say that what it does is it also allows, the sign-on opportunities are great. It brings we find that most people, it eases that sign-on burden, gets you into the app, gets you using the application quickly. From the challenges we have, I think they're specific to the fact that we have multiple apps utilizing the same panels and the same app IDs. And how do we brand that message, and how do we put that out appropriately?
Gotcha. Anyone else want to share your SDK experience?
Yeah,
Devin?
sure. I mean, one of the first things that when we implemented the SDK was with sign-in and for Facebook login, and for us that was once we introduced it, almost parallelly on web and mobile at the same time, and we found that pretty quickly the rate of sign-in. We offer email as well, and we found that the percentage of registrations on mobile that's coming via Facebook login is far exceeding that on web, because it's on a very basic level, it's a very cumbersome process, and I think the ability to just with a single click integrate with that app and have an authentication is fantastic. It's been huge for us. And with regard to challenges, with Facebook login in particular, I think there are some. If you introduce Facebook login after you in addition to email and after email, there's some implications about, like dual user accounts and kind of like backtracking whether or not that user has an account. What if their Facebook email address doesn't match their email address they've already signed up with, et cetera, et cetera. So, so there's some fun things kind of like outside of login that have to get dealt with. But.
Can you share like any like how you guys have addressed that? Because I'm sure a lot of folks do offer dual login options and probably run into this.
One of the things that we've tried, our marketing team kind of developed the hypothesis based upon looking at email open and click-through rates that perhaps there was a discrepancy between users' email address that they were using in life and what they had used back in 2006 or 7 to sign on to join Facebook. And we introduced a step in the Facebook login flow where we ask you to just authenticate that this is indeed the email address you want to register with Fab with. That's helped.
Gotcha. You guys have anything to add?
Sure. So when we first launched, we actually decided to go with a Facebook-only login for the mobile app, and I think there are a couple of reasons why we decided to do that. One is it streamlines the onboarding process, so you get username, picture, all that good stuff, so it makes it easier for users to log in. And the other part of it is that Poshmark itself is kind of an inherently social app, so when people come in and they list an item, they're really looking for comments, likes, shares on top of that. And so that's the other reason why Facebook was kind of natural to do. And then obviously, if you just do Facebook itself, you kind of lose the conversions on email altogether. But initially we had thought, okay, maybe all the social and everything else could be valuable enough that we don't do email right away. But I think a lot of people have also, even today people have pointed out that even if you don't think that people are going to sign up with email, just providing it adds some level of authenticity and some level of credibility, to your app itself. So we still see people register with email and then connect to Facebook, but then we started offering it later. From challenges perspective, there are a couple things. One is around session management. So if you log in with Facebook and the user deletes your app on Facebook or they log out of Facebook, your token is no longer valid and that type of stuff. So you kind of have to manage that type of stuff. The other thing is around shares and actions. We push quite a number of actions through our app to Facebook. I think we were around 1 million interactions a day where we try to push out to Open Graph through follows, likes, comments. And part of the thing is that you might want to capture that event for yourself also, in addition to pushing it out to Facebook. And so when you want to do that, then it becomes a question of where's the best place to actually do it. And for us, we've kind of decided that a lot of the actions themselves are going to be done kind of on our async services, and that's what we do. So.
Gotcha. How about Kyle on GetGlue? You guys obviously use it a bit as well. And
yeah, most of our traffic, well, I don't know if it's most of it, but a lot of our traffic comes from Facebook, so it makes sense for us to have a login with Facebook button, and single sign-on is just seamless, and the user can get started on GetGlue right away. The other thing is, as far as problems, I would say kind of similar to like session management, managing permissions, and we had a bug where we forgot to ask for the permission to publish to Open Graph, and rectifying that situation was kind of difficult for us.
Talking about permissions, a lot of developers do experiment with different levels of permissions, and some folks, try to ask for the kitchen sink, and obviously it hurts conversion. Have you guys, experimented with different types of permissioning batches and seeing how those perform, and how have you guys gone about optimizing those, if you guys have experimented with them at all?
We tested for a while asking for a little bit more demographic and personal data with the hopes of being able to, kind of try to develop some cohorts and maybe do some personalization against it. The login rate went down. It seemed pretty actually directly correlated when we increased the amount of permissions beyond kind of what folks considered to be, I think, standard. I think there are some things that have become kind of like standard permissions that folks are used to seeing in the auth dialog. And when things that are not so standard are there, and there's not a extremely contextual reason why it is there, I think that sometimes that folks are a little weary.
And how did you guys resolve that? Did you provide more context to users?
We actually took them away, and we tried to gather the information elsewhere.
Gotcha.
Yeah, try to make the, I think at the end of the day, like what the Facebook login is all about is just boop, boop. So I mean, like just trying to keep that as close to it as possible. Right.
Anyone else have similar experiences in terms of?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of see the same things. I think what we try to get minimal permissions, and then at the time, if the actual action needs it, then we request for it. I think the ultimate test that we did was around authenticated referrals when it was still around, and that was a bummer. So so we saw our numbers drop pretty quickly when we started using authenticated referrals. I think that's the ultimate of asking for permissions right away, right?
Totally. And on the login front, though, I mean, have you guys seen like Facebook connected users like have some like higher level of value to you? I mean, obviously you've all implemented Facebook login, so you see something there. But as you like look at these users coming in from like Facebook login or different like registration methods, like do you attribute more value to those users over time, like by them being Facebook connected users?
I mean, we do, because immediately we can pull in your likes and your friends' likes and start you know, personalizing your guide, get you content in your feed right away. So for us, we do value the user. The other aspect of that is it completes our viral loop. So they were on Facebook, they came to Facebook, or came to our website, they signed up with Facebook login, and now they're able to share stuff back to Facebook and get other people to use the product.
We see the Facebook users that come in, they're already inherently social. So they get into our activity apps and they're driving motivation with their friends, they're seeking motivation from their friends, and they're already bringing a collective group workout, group activity together.
And both of you guys working on kind of the commerce side of things, seeing like monetary value. Like, have you seen like more sales getting driven by Facebook connected users, or is there?
Yeah, it's not so clear for us in terms of the actual monetary value of Facebook versus anybody else. The big thing is, for us at least, it's because it's inherently social. The value of a Facebook user in terms of virality and the loop itself is huge, just given the number of actions that we're pushing out. And email users obviously don't get that. They get the enthusiasm and the energy inside the community, but they can't go outside the community and get that back through the shares and the likes and stuff like that. So that's really where we see a lot of value coming in from the user. The other part of it is also the personalization in the initial kind of on-ramp.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think it's just that it introduces a way for the user to step into another level of lifetime value without actually making a purchase, which is really, really interesting. And yeah, I mean, we found that those users are way more likely to go out and fave something, which, because they're Facebook connected and the open graph exists, they're going to come back, and that's going to be published, and they'll come back. They don't even necessarily have to buy things. They can just be sharing the products that they see on Fab that excite them and be generating revenue through the viral loop. So.
I've heard. I mean, you guys have mentioned. You guys both have mentioned viral loop now. How do you guys look at that? I mean, obviously Facebook like plugs into that. Is driving a fire hose of traffic your way. How do you guys address that? It's coming in from desktop, from mobile, into your services. Like, how do you guys? What's your guys' strategy for addressing that? How do you measure and optimize? Like, have you seen like leaks in that, and how do you address those leaks in the viral loop and optimize there?
When we first integrated the SDK, one of the things we did not have activated was deep linking. And we found that once we got that working and we're sending people very quickly and directly either to the App Store or directly to that product in the app, that there was a much stronger conversion rate and traffic back to the site. Because we have not spent a great deal of time optimizing for mobile web. We've focused almost exclusively on native development, and so for us, that was kind of the thing that was missing that's really improved things.
Gotcha. Anyone else in terms of the viral loop? I mean, Kyle, you were talking about how it's an important part of what you guys do.
Right. I think it's a little bit harder to track for mobile, especially if they go to the App Store. We kind of lose kind of the reference of where they were. So we mostly look at web and kind of extrapolate and say it's probably similar for mobile. But we're definitely looking at Facebook Insights a lot in terms of how many impressions each share is generating, the click-through rate, obviously like how much traffic and looking at Google Analytics and back to Facebook Insights and always trying to rectify things.
Yeah. So for us, it's as hard. I think with mobile, you kind of lose that tracking once you go to the App Store. We kind of look at it as multiple viral loops. So obviously, you have the viral loop where someone comes in, they invite their friends, they go out, people come back, new registrations. But you also have things where someone purchases something from a seller, the seller is happy about it, they post it, they share it. So each one of those kind of flows, we think about how to optimize up into the endpoint. And then once we get to that endpoint and it goes to the App Store or something like that, there's not much we can do. But you can also just keep track of the number of users you're getting in and the number of users that you think this thing would be producing. And at some point, you'd be able to figure out some very high level number. And it's just going through your analytics and trying to figure it out.
On the Nike side, I mean, you guys.
Well, we look for reaction to activities. In particular, I think about like our Cheers feature, which actually buzzes and applauds in your headphones while you're running. And looking at what happens so I cheered you on, and then did I convert later? Did I become a Nike Plus user? How did that happen? And we monitor that kind of traffic. And
that is an awesome feature, if you folks have never seen that before. It's one of my favorite features. Open Graph, and we talked a little bit about that, but we heard earlier today Rose talk about how you can use Open Graph. There's Rose in the back. Use Open Graph to tell stories. And each of you guys are using Open Graph to tell stories using your application. What was your strategy for that? How did you guys think about designing your actions and objects and making these stories look really, really awesome on Facebook? And how has that worked for you guys relative to some of the traditional sharing methods that we've offered on the platform?
So I think from the beginning, I think that the nature of at least in our case, the nature of what we're selling kind of intrinsically lends itself to social sharing. Even if it's something that you might not necessarily want to buy right there at the moment, it's this fun, cool product that's wowed you, that's excited you, and you want to share it. And even before we integrated Open Graph in early 2012, we were seeing huge numbers, 20%, 30% of traffic from Facebook, and that's just via like and share. And for us, we tried to frame it around, being both taking advantage of the advantages the platform offers, whilst at the same time being very, very explicit with users as to what we're asking for, why we're doing it, making it very opt-in. I think everybody knows here, the instances of there's I think it was Washington Post, I forget, it was one, the read actions where it wasn't exactly implicit and there was a lot of negative feedback. We tried to just kind of create another way that people could share the things that we're already going to be sharing, and it was more seamless.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, we spend a lot of time on sharing, an unbelievable amount of time, just optimizing the copy, looking at how many shares are going out, how many signups we're getting from them, because it's really part of our viral loop. One thing that we did lately is we changed from a custom action. We had a custom check-in action. We changed that to watching, and it seemed to make a huge difference in terms of the number of impressions each share is getting. And I want to thank Facebook for that, because I think we actually lost accounts originally when we switched to Open Graph, so I think they kind of owed us one.
So I think for us, in some ways, the strategies kind of come from organically. I'm a runner, so I come back in, wow, I just had my best time, or I just completed my first 5K. Well, there's my story right there. And then we add in who did I run with, and where's the map of my run, and what kind of course did I take? And that evolved into these great Open Graph experiences where we can really see all these things, and they're now growing further into our Fuel Band products, our Fuel Band app, where we talk about people who aren't runners per se, but do other activities and how they're earning fuel and they're being active, and sharing those moments and those stories, and who they're doing it with and where they're doing it is really a big part of what's happening in the activity.
So I think ours is similar. I think what we've done is we've just looked at all the different actions that are in Poshmark, all the different actions that are in Facebook itself, and then also basically the users of Poshmark who are extremely excited about the app and love the platform and who want to express it in other platforms and just amplify it out. And that's really where we get people to do these different things. we haven't spent, our strategy has kind of been push as much as we can in terms of what makes sense. So likes, shares, comments, follows, kind of everything, the full gambit. The thing that we haven't done too much is optimizations around actual copy and things like that. We have a couple, we've done a couple, but nowhere to the level of A/B testing and all this other good stuff that's there.
Gotcha. Thanks, guys. And then we also had a session today on promoting your app. So we've launched these great new ad products for driving mobile app installs and discovery of your application. I know some of you on the panel have had great experiences with them. Some of you guys have dabbled on them. So we'd love to hear from all you guys in terms of your experience, whether you've only dabbled a little bit and you're not, you guys haven't really gone all in yet, to folks that actually have spent a lot of time on these, and any numbers you could share I think would be good for the audience, folks that are just looking at using these ad units.
Okay. I can start, I guess. We recently did a case study with Facebook, so we're pretty big on mobile ad installs, mobile app ad installs, effectively. We spend kind of I don't know, like half a day just kind of going through the Power Editor, figuring out what images work, what don't work, setting up campaigns, doing specific interests. I mean, for us, our targeting is at least there's a couple things that are pretty solid. I mean, we're looking for women, and we're looking for people who are interested in fashion. And so we start with that as our baseline. And then we start figuring out from a specific campaign, how do you optimize? And there's a lot of kind of best practices around that, around burnout of the image, the segment size that you want, and all that good stuff. From a results perspective, I think what we said is that even across, because we spent a lot of time with Facebook, it's not just mobile app installs, but we tried kind of all the different ones. The app installs actually perform about 20% better, I think, 20 to 30% better than other ad types that we've seen. So if you were going to do like a page post, right, and then link to your app store link. So those are the type of things that we've been trying. And from an overall kind of cost per user, we're also looking at different channels. Facebook has been performing better, so I think it's 20% better than from a cost per user perspective than any other channel.
That's a lot of good data. Thanks for sharing that. How about Phil?
I want to hear from these guys and learn a little bit myself.
I know you guys haven't done much. I know, Kyle, you guys just experimented a little bit, but
yeah, not too much. For us, since we're not like trying to sell anything, it's hard for us to know like how much our users are actually worth and whether it would be worth it for us to pay for these kind of app installs right now.
And yeah, and so we have it running, and I think for us like the most important factor is that there are these these explicit interests that we can really especially since we have a product offering that spans across all the litany of categories, we can very, very definitively say, like we're pretty sure that this demographic, this user is gonna be interested in this type of product, and we can put that in front of them. And of course, this is perfectly seamless link right to the App Store. One of the things I love about Facebook is that you guys hack it, and we've been part of like probably 6 or 7 alphas at this point. I love that, like taking things totally in progress and pushing them live. There were some some issues with the implementation, like trying to figure out how to get attribution totally correct. Mobile download attribution is just one of those things these days that nobody's really quite figured out yet. But yeah, it's been good.
Good. Thanks for that feedback. I want to leave a couple minutes for questions from the audience, but just before we do so, any last pieces of advice for folks that are just looking at really integrating on the Facebook mobile platform?
Try things. Try a lot of things.
Yeah, try a lot of things. Well, I think having Facebook as a login option is kind of a great first step, just so that you reduce the onboarding process, even if you're just looking for like username and stuff like that. That way, at least on mobile, like typing in a username is probably a minute or two, something like that, just to do that whole process. And just to start off with that option is a good thing, and then start optimizing, figuring out what you can do with Open Graph.
Cool. Any last pieces of advice?
I second try things. No, I mean really, there's a huge spectrum of awesome tools and strategies that are available, and just got to try it. Some things will work better than others, but you just got to try it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Well, we have some microphones in the audience, so would love to have the panelists answer some questions from you guys. So raise your hand, and we'll get you guys a microphone. We have one way in the back. And please give your name and the company you work for as well, just to provide context.
Well, funny that you mentioned this. My name is Steve Bronner, and I'm representing a group called Trends Context. I'm curious, given that the plethora of data that comes from Facebook when you're integrating really tightly, what are some of the data solutions you guys use to get the most out of it and tie that in with other data sources that eventually lead to revenue or internal improvements?
Who wants to take it?
I mean, unfortunately for us, like most of it's kind of homegrown. So we kind of know like the page that they're landing on for our signups, and we rectify it with the Facebook query params. So I think it's called like FB action type, and we know that it came from the signup came from like a Facebook share. And we track that in a cookie through the whole signup process, and we do that for every single signup. So we can tell you exactly why and how that user signed up.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyone else doing something special?
ours is similar. I think we've pretty much done a homegrown system because when we started, we were on mobile, so it made it a little bit harder. But what we're always trying to do is try to infer, okay, this thing came from here, and then we got to, these number of users, this might be the thing that's impacting this other thing. And I mean, you don't have to do it now, but one of the things that we also did initially was just do an IP-based tracking system, where if you bounced off our servers for some reason, we could track your IP, and then if you ever came back through a registration or something like that, then we would see it. But almost all the data and analytics that we do is kind of homegrown.
Well, thanks, guys. Other questions? We got one here.
Hey, Rich Friedman from Stuzo. I was just wondering, we talked a lot about today about Open Graph as well. What stories are you guys finding are kind of getting the most engagement with your users?
For us, it's definitely both runs, people, and that cheer me on feature, that has a lot of engagement. Well, from a running side, from the fuel perspective, it's almost like a gamification because each user starts to begin to earn badges and things that go into the Open Graph story as they achieve different levels. I actually had a whole group around me. Very recently, I just became a Nike Fuel millionaire. And I had a group around me to see what would happen and how that story would present. And that becomes an exciting experience. And that drives a lot of our Open Graph.
For us, it's definitely the watching action that we have. So when someone checks into a TV show or a movie, they share that back to Facebook as this person's watching on GetGlue. It's by far the most effective for us. I think it's even more effective if they leave a comment. One thing that we've tried to do too is make the experience very native to Facebook and not try to make it look too much like it came from an external source. We like to kind of blend into Facebook. People also share our version of badges. We have stickers, and they don't get near as much engagement. And not only do they get less impressions, but they also get less clicks back to our site.
For us, it's been an action that we have called Fave, which allows users to essentially express interest and also bookmark a product to come back for later on our domain. I think on a basic level, it's just very similar to Facebook Share, Facebook Like. One of the things just an interesting thing, we found that that buy is also a really compelling option, and that whilst a lower percentage of users feel comfortable sharing that, the rate that it generates traffic back to Fab from Facebook is significantly higher than Fave, because I think there's a trust level connected with, it's not just that he's sharing this, he actually bought it. It's almost like I'm vouching for it. So the referral traffic rate back to Facebook was much higher.
Other questions? We got one right here. Just wait for the mic, sorry.
Do your apps default to have posts automatically sent to Facebook, and how often do you see people turn sharing off?
So we don't have that as a default, and we kind of ask for it when they decide to share to Facebook. So
we experiment with that in different ways, and we've tried it in different types of different apps. I think we've had some success with, especially around Fuel Band, with some auto shares and things. And I don't actually know the numbers, but it's been a mix.
I know you guys have experimented a bit.
Yeah,
you guys have
internal debates a lot too. So for us, we asked for the permission up front to publish action. However, when you check in, there is a Facebook thing that by default is checked. However, we find most users uncheck it. I think only about maybe 25% choose to leave it checked.
And do you guys leave it as sticky, or does it like reset back?
We do leave it. You mean like save state across?
Yeah.
They uncheck it. We don't right now, but that's definitely something we're thinking about.
Gotcha.
We ask for it explicitly as a separate step after you give permission to access to your email address. We actually, worthwhile story. We had an action, I think about like six months ago, called where if we were Facebook friends and we were both authenticated with Facebook on Fab, we tried publishing a story saying that Chris and I were shopping together on Fab. Total mess. Total mess. Bad idea. Did not work. Chris Malwat over here emails me one day. He's like, "You got to take this shit down, man. It's just not. It's just not good." So, I mean, from my perspective, I really do think that like it's so much more effective to be explicit, even if you are sacrificing a near-term volume of share activity. I think the goodwill you generate is far superior.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a direction that we've taken with the platform too, and that's why we've introduced things like the explicitly shared flag on Open Graph to tell us at Facebook that this is something that's being explicitly shared, so we can render that accordingly in newsfeed and on a user's timeline. So it's a direction that we've been taking the platform anyway, and it's good to hear your guys' real-time experience with playing on both sides of that. I think we got time for one more question. We got one in the back.
Hi, I'm Brian from Hootsuite. I guess Devin kind of touched on a question that I had, which would be, of the social experiments you've run, what's a particularly funny or interesting, surprising result that you've gotten that you can share?
That's my winner. I don't have any more.
You guys have any surprising user experiences?
The good one or the bad one? The bad one has to be authenticated referrals, I think, for us. The good ones, I think all the stuff we're doing with Open Graph, just pushing out all the data is working out well for us. Just and not worrying too much about, is this the right message right now? Just kind of get it out there. You basically get a baseline, right? So if you push out a message and you get a baseline, then you improve from the baseline. And so the more you push out, the more baselines you have, and the more chances you have of improving it. So that's, yeah.
Any interesting, you getting the 1,000,000 points?
Yeah, no, I can't think of a funny one at the moment. We've got a lot of learnings, and we've done a lot of Open Graph integration, but I can't think of a funny story to tell at the moment. That.
Can we do one more question? We have one more. Squeeze one
more?
Yeah.
Thanks for that. A claim is being made here that social apps create more engaging users. Can each of you give a measure of how many shares per unit of time per user you consider a good social engagement?
Think about that for a
And what you guys can share, obviously. I mean,
yeah. So I think, I don't know, I mean, good is, I guess, relative, right? So what we're looking at is, given kind of like our Posh parties that happen, they happen 3 times a day, they last for 2 hours. Everybody gets a notification when the party starts, and they come in, they start doing shares within the app and to Facebook. So the combination of those 2 things, we have seen peaks around 100 per second. And that's kind of what we've seen, and that number has been growing. So I don't know if that's a lot or a little, you know.
And I don't know that I'd look at it from really a shares perspective as much as a, is the social motivation factor pushing me to continue my activity? Did it make me run every day? Did it make me earn my fuel and hit my fuel goal every day? Does it keep me moving? And that's our metric, the way we look at it. Is this successful?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, we don't really look at shares like that way. We just assume that if they're checking in, that like, 25% of them are getting shared to Facebook. So to me, like looking at shares over a unit of time for a user is the same thing as looking at number of check-ins. And I actually don't know that number off the top of my head.
Fair enough. Cool. Well, I really love to thank the panel. They've done such an awesome job. So thanks, Nghia, Phil, Kyle, and Devin. And we're going to bring Simon back up, but let's give these guys a hand.
Thanks very much, guys. So I'm acutely aware I am the only thing between you and a large crate of beer downstairs. So I will keep this brief. Hopefully you guys have had a good day today. We've covered a lot of stuff. We've covered the object API, the native share dialog, the object browser, native login dialog, the iOS SDK, the new iOS SDK, the Android SDK, the JavaScript SDK, mobile app install ads, mobile sponsor stories, deep linking, how we built our iOS apps, how we built our Android apps, RageShake, killer, Facebook technology partners including Pars, Adobe, and Microsoft presenting today, Pars again, GetGlue, Poshmark, Nike Plus, and Fab.com on the panel, and we open sourced Buck. So it's been a busy day. But we're not quite done yet. Last few bits of housekeeping. Please, in the group, we posted a link to the survey. We've said this before, but we really, really appreciate your feedback. Have you had a good day? Yeah, OK, good. Well, in that case, we really appreciate you guys putting your feedback into this, because it's how it helps us improve. It's how we decide what to do again next time. But now, it's time for the very last bit of the day. And that is time for office hours. So downstairs is beer and food and dinner. And there's rather a lot of Facebook people here. So I just want you to, if you've met some of them today, but I want you to introduce you to many of them again. Guys, if you work for Facebook, please come this way. So downstairs are 5 signs along the wall. iOS, Android, mobile web, Open Graph, and ads. In those areas will be the people that work from Facebook who understand those products. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. Have you ever seen this many people from Facebook before? We're still basically a startup, really. Keep packing in. Come on. This is like, we should probably take a photo of this. I'm not sure this has happened before. Could someone else take a photo? It'd be weird for me to do it. OK, so these are the people that for the next 2 hours are going to hang around and like help you out. That's what this entire day has been about. So like, please use them. So I want to say 2 last thanks. These events do not run themselves, right? Like, they take a huge amount of planning and preparation. And when you're announcing launch products like we did today, like, they have to be thought of and built and launched. And so I just want to give a thank you for everyone that works at Facebook who worked on these events, our production crew, the lighting guys, the sound guys, the guys who did the catering, everyone who brought this together. Thanks. And the very last thanks is that, as I said at the very first thing this morning at 10 o'clock, is like thanks to you guys for choosing to spend your day with us. Right? You could have been doing a million other things today, building the next versions of your apps, like learning about some other technologies, but you chose to spend it with us, and that means a huge amount to us. So the last thanks of the day is to you guys for coming, and we hope you had an awesome day. We hope you enjoy office hours, and we hope to see you in New York again sometime soon. Thanks very much.
It's Baba Boom time again. You hear the people sing.